The time had come to turn the page on the World Wrestling Federation's golden era completely, and at King of the Ring, the stars of the new generation were on full display and shining brightly, while the star that once shined the brightest began to fade into the cloudy mist of history. The mighty Yokozuna, the pride of the Orient, and now the representation of dominance in the WWF, would be a mountain to climb for a superstar of indomitable determination and resilience. Rising to the challenge would be the former WCW World Champion, Lex Luger, who proved able to do what the immortal Hulk Hogan could not. On July 4, 1993, Luger body-slammed Yokozuna aboard the USS Intrepid, giving hope to wrestling fans that he could be the one to restore American pride in the World Wrestling Federation. During the King of the Ring coronation, former champion, Hitman Bret Hart was attacked by Jerry the King Lawler, who declared himself the only king of professional wrestling. Tensions were further escalated as the King repeatedly insulted members of Bret's family. Jim Cornette has arrived in the WWF as Yokozuna's American ambassador, but brings with him the Heavenly Bodies, Jimmy Del Rey and Tom Pritchard, to challenge the Steiners for the WWF Tag Team titles. Shawn Michaels had gotten himself involved in the conflict between Mr. Perfect and Luger at WrestleMania. Perfect got revenge briefly, by costing Michaels the Intercontinental title to his former partner, Marty Jannetty. Michaels regained the title, however, and defends against Mr. Perfect, while The Undertaker seeks to settle the score with Harvey Whippleman's Giant Gonzalez once and for all in a rest-in-peace match. Also, Razor Ramon and the 1-2-3 Kid look to settle differences with Ted DiBiase and IRS in singles contests, as Bam Bam Bigelow, with the Head Shrinkers, looks to settle his conflict with Tatanka, joined by the Smoking Guns. Plus, Marty Jannetty is in action against Ludwig Borga at Summerslam '93. SummerSlam '93 opens with a singles contest between the Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase and Razor Ramon. Before the contest begins, DiBiase loosens one of the turnbuckle covers and then he launches an attack on Razor while he's attempting to take off his gold chains. He delivers chops to Razor in the corner, yet Ramon responds with a backdrop and a fallaway slam. DiBiase collects himself, allowing Razor to finally discard his entrance attire. After that, he comes back and retaliates, but Razor executes a few clotheslines and forces him back to the outside. He then slingshots DiBiase into the ring, but Ted retreats to a corner. He tricks Razor and pulls him into the turnbuckles before strangling him on the ropes. Ted also performs a backbreaker and exhausts him with various holds. He continues with a swinging neckbreaker and a suplex, but Razor counters a $1 Million Dream. Both competitors subsequently fall to the mat after a double clothesline, but Ted pushes Ramon out of the ring and completes the removal of the turnbuckle pad. He seeks to smash Razor into it, but Ramon counters and delivers the Razor's Edge to secure the victory. SummerSlam continues with a match for the Tag Team Championships. The Steiners defend the WWF titles against Jim Cornette's Heavenly Bodies, the Smoky Mountain Tag Team Champions. The Bodies jump the Steiners to start and isolate Rick for some double teaming. Scott returns and the Steiners whip the Bodies into each other before Scott starts tossing both men around the ring. The Bodies then regroup before Pritchard faces off against Scott. The Steiners hit press slams and Steiner lines, so the Bodies have to regroup again and Cornette talks strategy. Scott gets the advantage again, but he falls victim to double teaming. They send Scott to the floor and Del Rey hits a somersault senton off the apron. He also hits a float over DDT before the Bodies use a ref distraction so Cornette can hit Scott with his racket. However, Scott answers with a suplex and a Tiger Bomb before finally tagging Rick. He hits more Steiner lines and a Flying Bulldog, but Pritchard breaks up the pin. The match becomes a brawl and the ref is distracted, so the Bodies backdrop Scott to the floor. Then, they hit Rick with the tennis racket, but they only get a 2 count. Del Rey then attempts a moonsault, but he hits Pritchard by mistake. This opens the door for Scott to hit a Frankensteiner for the win. Mr. Perfect has been a persistent annoyance to Shawn Michaels ever since Shawn attacked him at WrestleMania. He caused Shawn to lose the Intercontinental title to Marty Jannetty, but Shawn reclaimed it with the assistance of Diesel. Now, Perfect is set to contend for the championship in the upcoming match. They exchange holds, takeovers, and even hair pulling to begin the match. Perfect continuously counters all of Shawn's reversals and flips him upside down with a clothesline. He also traps Shawn in an arm drag during a diving attempt and begins targeting Michaels' arm. Shawn tries to respond with a drop kick, but he misses, and Perfect catapults him over the ropes. Perfect tries to follow up, but Diesel diverts his attention, allowing Shawn to deliver a super kick. He then follows that up with an axe handle to the back and concentrates his assault on that area. He strikes Perfect with a few hard shots, prompting Perfect to exclaim, "God damn it." However, Perfect retaliates with a drop kick, backdrop, knee lift, and a power bomb. He also succeeds in executing a perfect plex, but Diesel drags him out of the ring. Perfect and Diesel engage in a skirmish on the floor, prompting Shawn to join in. They tussle, and Perfect rolls Shawn into the ring, but Shawn accidentally hits the referee, Earl Hebner. Diesel takes advantage of the distraction to slam Perfect into the steps, preventing Perfect from re-entering the ring before the 10 count. After the match, Perfect assaults Diesel and Shawn, but they overpower him. Shawn restrains Perfect, allowing Diesel to knock him out with several punches before Shawn exits the ring. The next match is a grudge match between IRS and the 1-2-3 Kid. IRS is already in the ring and holding a microphone. He states that Detroit was once known as the Motor City, but now it's referred to as the Tax Cheat City. Next, the Kid enters the arena. IRS begins with a shoulder block, but the Kid counters with a spinning wheel kick. IRS then retaliates by lifting the Kid into the air and letting him drop. He attempts to perform the same move again, but the Kid executes a dropkick while in midair. IRS retaliates by tossing the Kid over the ropes and attacking him on the apron. He then tries to slingshot the Kid back into the ring, but the Kid lands on his feet and rolls up IRS for a 2 count. However, IRS traps him in an abdominal stretch while using the ropes for support. He eventually gets discovered, but he keeps wearing down the Kid with various holds. The Kid eventually counters and delivers some kicks in the corner before performing a moonsault for another 2 count. He also executes a cradle and an enziguri for additional near falls. Unfortunately, IRS catches him off guard with a lariat to secure the victory. Next, the match between Hitman Bret Hart and Jerry the King Lawler was scheduled to take place. Lawler walks out on crutches claiming to have been in an accident and per doctor's order unable to wrestle. Doink the Clown is selected as the replacement and comes out with his usual shenanigans. This time, a bucket of confetti for fans, and a bucket of water for Bruce and Owen Hart. Bret quickly strikes Doink before he can take off his jacket and hits him with a clothesline that sends him out of the ring. They fight both inside and outside the ring again, with Bret slamming him into the post, but Doink attempts to catch him on the ropes. Doink climbs to the top rope, but Bret intercepts him and drops him face first onto the mat. However, Lawler diverts Bret's attention, prompting Bret to pursue him instead. Doink seizes the opportunity to jump Bret and slams him into the steps. Next, he pushes Bret back into the ring and lands a flying axe handle. He then targets Bret's leg, driving it into the post before applying an STF. Bret manages to escape, but Doink persists with his assault and puts Bret in a stump puller. He uses the ropes to gain advantage, but the referee sees him and breaks the hold. Afterward, Doink body slams Bret and attempts the whoopee cushion, but Bret counters by raising his knees into Doink's groin. He follows with a Russian leg sweep and a diving elbow before trapping Doink in a sharpshooter. It seems he is on the verge of victory, but Lawler crawls into the ring and strikes Bret with his crutch, prompting a disqualification. President Jack Tunney comes in and confronts Lawler in the aisle, commanding him to re-enter the ring. Tunney has threatened Lawler with a ban from the WWF if he fails to step into the ring with Bret. So the originally scheduled match is on. Bret meets Lawler in the aisle and hits him with Doink's bucket. They enter the ring and the bell rings while Bret bites and punches Lawler. He then hits Jerry with a backdrop and a leg drop before dropping a headbutt into Lawler's gut. Jerry rolls outside, so Bret follows and hits him with the crutch. They fight in and out of the ring again, but Lawler gets the remnants of the crutch and attacks Bret. He chokes him while the ref is distracted by Owen and Bruce, and then he crotches Bret on the post. Lawler continues his attack, but Bret mule kicks him in the groin and lowers the straps of his singlet. He then backdrops Jerry and hits a backbreaker before also hitting a pile driver. Then, Bret pulls the crowd with a thumbs up and a thumbs down before locking Lawler in the sharpshooter for the win. Bret refuses to release the hold. The refs attempt to pull him away, but Bret won't budge. More officials arrive, but they can't convince Bret to stop. Owen and Bruce are the ones who finally convince Bret to stop. However, Fink announces that the ref has reversed the decision and awarded the match to Lawler by DQ. Lawler is declared the undisputed king of the WWF and Bret resumes his attack on him. Next, newcomer Ludwig Borga faces Marty Jannetty in a singles bout. Jannetty makes the error of facing away, leading Borga to strike him into a corner. He then spins Marty around and delivers clotheslines, headbutts, and knee strikes. He also elevates Marty off the ground and punches him as he descends. Borga then follows this up with a choke lift and additional punches, but he fails to connect with a corner charge. Marty continues to attempt a comeback and goes for a sunset flip, but Ludwig strikes him and ensnares him in a bear hug. Marty escapes the hold and tries for a slam, but his back gives out, allowing Borga to turn him inside out with a clothesline. At that point, Marty cleverly counters Borga's sunset flip attempt and lands a few super kicks. Nevertheless, Borga intercepts him during a crossbody and slams him down. He then places Jannetty in the torture rack, securing the victory. The Undertaker faces the Giant Gonzalez next in a rest-in-peace match. Whippleman has managed to repossess the urn and Paul Bearer conspicuously absent, at least for the moment. Taker instantly assaults with throat chops and chokes, but he needs to ascend the turnbuckles to achieve this. Whippleman diverts his attention, allowing Gonzalez to strike Taker with boots, headbutts, and forearms that all appear feeble. Taker makes an effort to retaliate, but Gonzalez pushes him to the floor and they engage in a brawl. He subsequently crashes Taker into the apron and seizes a chair, but Gonzalez strikes him with the incorrect side. Then, Gonzalez hurls Taker knee first into the steps. He then propels Taker back into the ring, and Taker crawls towards the urn. Gonzalez continues to assault him with weak forearms, but then the gong resonates and Paul Bearer reappears with a black wreath. Whippleman menaces Paul, but he clotheslines Harvey and retrieves the urn. Meanwhile, Gonzalez slams Taker, but he notices Bearer and becomes distracted. Bearer lifts the urn, prompting Taker to sit up and bring Gonzalez down to a knee with clotheslines. He then ascends to the top and executes a flying clothesline for the victory. Bearer places the black wreath over Gonzalez once the bell rings. Following the match, Gonzalez reaches his limit with Whippleman's nonsense. He stalks him around the ring while Harvey attempts to clarify. Gonzalez topples the wreath and delivers a chokeslam to Whippleman. He then places the wreath on Harvey and exits the ring. Bam Bam Bigelow's beef with Tatanka plays out here in a six-man tag team match. The Head Shrinkers join Bigelow while Tatanka teams with the Smoking Guns. Tatanka's team attempts to gain an early advantage, but they are unsuccessful and the contest begins with Bam Bam and Tatanka. He stuns Bam Bam with a shoulder tackle, dropkick, and backdrop, but both competitors collapse after a double crossbody. Fatu and Billy Gunn engage and exchange strikes, but Fatu connects with a superkick. Billy responds by countering a suplex into a DDT and landing a flying clothesline, but Fatu counters with a shoulder block. The Head Shrinkers then work together to double-team Billy and allow Fatu to take his turn attacking. However, Samu accidentally directs Billy into his corner, facilitating attack to Bart. Bart catches Samu with a crossbody and an arm drag, but Samu retaliates with an elbow and a facebuster. At this point, the heels team up to double and triple team Bart in their corner. He attempts to counter with a facebuster, but it proves ineffective against a Samoan. The triple teaming persists, and everyone delivers a headbutt to Bart, but Bam Bam misses a charge into the corner. Tatanka makes the tag and unleashes chops, a DDT, and a flying crossbody, but only manages to score a 2 count. He expresses frustration about the count, prompting Bam Bam to attack him and thwart a possible comeback. The match inevitably devolves into a brawl, leading Bam Bam to clothesline Billy out of the ring, causing him to land on his head. They team up to triple team Tatanka, and everyone attempts simultaneous flying headbutts, but they all miss. Subsequently, the Guns take down Bam Bam and Fatu while Tatanka rolls up Samu for the victory. The main event of SummerSlam 93 is a WWF Championship match between champion Yokozuna and Lex Luger. Yoko attempts to jump Lex, but Luger strikes him with forearms. He subsequently tries an O'Connor roll, which is unwise, but Yoko defends against it. Yoko goes for a leg drop, but he misses. Luger responds by delivering kicks to Yoko's leg and Yoko attempts to leave the ring, but Luger knocks him to the ground and performs an elbow strike. Yoko catches Luger by surprise with a slam, but he fails to connect with an elbow drop, and Luger executes a corner clothesline. Lex then initiates 10 punches in the corner, but Yoko retaliates with a throat chop and chokes him. Next, Yoko diverts the referee's attention, and Mr. Fuji tries to apply salt, but Lex intercepts it. He then attempts to slam Yoko but encounters failure, leading to Zuna delivering a superkick. Jim Cornette shadows Luger, and Yoko throws him outside where he chokes him with some cable. Yoko also seizes a chair, but he misses his target and strikes the post. They eventually return to the ring. Luger delivers some flying axe handles in the flying forearm before tackling Yoko from behind with a clothesline, yet both men collapse due to a double clothesline. Afterward, Cornette distracts the referee, allowing Yoko to hit Lex with the salt bucket, but he lacks the energy to make a pin. He eventually executes a belly-to-belly and a side suplex before applying the nerve hold. Luger mounts a comeback and attempts another slam, but Yoko lands on top of him for a 2 count. Yoko then delivers a leg drop, but he still only garners a 2 count. He drags Luger to the corner to set up for the banzai drop, but he misses. The two engage in a sequence of chops and punches until Luger ultimately slams Yoko. Luger then must deal with Fuji before he drops his pad and strikes Yoko with a loaded forearm. However, Yoko tumbles out of the ring. Cornette then diverts Lex's attention from pursuing him, but that regrettably results in the referee reaching the 10 count. After the match, wrestlers come into the ring to celebrate with Lex. Savage waves a flag, and everyone elevates Luger onto their shoulders. Luger takes the flag and waves it. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, ended his active in-ring career after SummerSlam but continued as a manager and personality for years to come, while the Steiners' next major challenge would come from the Quebecers. Shawn Michaels would be suspended and stripped of the Intercontinental Championship after violating the 30-day defense clause. Razor Ramon defeated Rick Martel to win the vacant title, but Michaels returned claiming to be the legitimate champion. This would lead to a winner-take-all ladder match at WrestleMania 10. Bret Hart and Jerry Lawler's feud would be ongoing in different incarnations for decades, as would the King's insults of the Hart family, particularly Bret's parents, Stu and Helen. Yokozuna proceeded to squash everyone in his path on the way to a collision with The Undertaker at the Royal Rumble, where Luger would have an opportunity to earn another shot at the gold.